This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Daily English Premier League. My name is Michał Czarniecki, based in California. Welcome to the show. I'm really thrilled to have you guys here. And I am joined by Nick, our friend from Daily English Premier League. Hi Nick, very nice seeing you.
Hi, it's good to join you for the first time.
Yeah, it's very nice seeing you. And we've got the Manchester City input in the person of Jules. Hi Jules.
Hi, happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm really thrilled to have you both here. And why do we have this connection of an Arsenal fan and Manchester City fan here? And of course, Man United fan in the middle of it all. Because we've got two very important games to cover. First one being, of course, Aston Villa taking on Liverpool in the Premier League and the Champions League second leg bout between Real Madrid and Manchester City. Now you understand the selection. We've got two neutral fans who've got no horses in this race, so they will be more than happy to just be objective. And then we're going to have a Man City fan who's got a lot of agendas and a lot of points of interest in those two matches. Isn't that right, Jules?
Oh, yeah. Agendas always.
Oh, God. First, I brought up your poor heart condition, and now your agendas. Oh, my goodness. I'm just... Okay, let's go. Let's move on. If you do not understand that joke, ladies and gentlemen, about heart condition, rewind some of those episodes, and then you'll find out. So, let's, without further ado, let's jump into previewing Aston Villa versus Liverpool. That is going to be one hell of a cracker, because a lot of experts say that this match will practically be one of the important deciders on who's going to be clinching the title. Pretty early, in my opinion, but perhaps, Nick, maybe you understand that rationale.
Yeah, it's the first of their three big games I feel will just decide whether there is even a title race on. Obviously, 7 points ahead at the moment. If they win this, they go 10 points ahead, but they play Villa, City, and Newcastle in their next three. And I feel like if they get any more than even 5, I think it's done. For me, it was done in December when Saka got injured. But yeah this feels like the first where I think a loss could really get Arsenal's tails up, so to say, and almost smell blood that this could be on, despite the ridiculous set of injuries we have.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, exactly. And then a question to you, Jules, is there any chance that other teams from outside this top two, which is Liverpool, Arsenal, is there a chance of them catching up to that race? Or just like Irby said in one of our episodes of this podcast, that it's already done and dusted. Liverpool and Arsenal are only in the title race and no one else.
I might have said initially that I've got agendas, but I'm not quite that biased to think that City is still there. If the January signings came a month or two earlier, then perhaps, because we all know the run that City can go on at the tail end of the season. But I think it's pretty clear Liverpool have been the standout team in the league this year, and Arsenal are the best of the rest, let's say. However, there's not too many points between... it's about the same amount of points between Arsenal and the teams below them as it is Liverpool above them. So with that rationale, possibly. However, I don't see Liverpool dropping enough points to allow anyone else other than Arsenal to catch them this year.
Not to mention that, just looking at some little trivia there, especially concerning this fixture of Aston Villa taking on Liverpool, Aston Villa have won just one of the last 14 Premier League games against Liverpool, with 2 games drawn and 11 lost.
Do you remember that game as well? That was the crazy one, the 7-goal one as well, wasn't it?
7-2 victory at Villa Park in October 2020. Exactly, right on cue.
Emery's also only won once against Liverpool, which was the Europa League final in 2016, out of 12 meetings.
Well, he does have some memories on Liverpool. And speaking on Unai Emery, this is what he said on Mohamed Salah and his form and Liverpool overall.
His career has been amazing. This year, I think he's even playing his best football. Huge numbers, scoring goals, assists, playing confidence. When the teammate can have one player like him, everybody's playing more comfortable. Really, we have to try to impose our game plan, to dominate with our structure tactically, collectively, trying to use our skilled players as well to get a difference on the field against them in the duels on collectively. And then we have to compete adapted of them, because of course tomorrow Liverpool, they are going to demand us a lot, everything tactically, individually. Of course with Klopp they did fantastic this year. With the Slot they are even doing again better. For me as a coach, it's a really big challenge tomorrow.
Well, one of those rare occasions when we hear Unai Emery with those ums and ahs. Well, that's the magic of editing, ladies and gentlemen.
That's the best Zencastr ad you could ever have, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to get to that later. Damn, actually, now that I think of it, that might have been a beautiful segue to this ad. But okay, we'll think of another one.
They can have that one for free. It's okay.
Exactly. So, well, and I think the words of Unai Emery are completely justified. I mean, look at the stats of Mohamed Salah. 23 goals so far this season, slightly more than second Erling Haaland with his 19 goals this season. Is Mohamed Salah going to be a big threat for Aston Villa's defence, especially looking at the list of injuries in Aston Villa's column? Nick?
It feels like if you said no, you'd be a complete idiot. Like, Salah's going to be a threat no matter who they're playing. And the fact that Villa's entire defence pretty much is injured, this could be like feasting for Salah. And I don't think he was particularly good at the weekend. And as is often said about him, he's still got a goal, he's still got an assist. Like, this guy doesn't even need to be good to get output, so he'll definitely be a threat tomorrow.
Yeah. And Jules, like, how much do you wish for Mohamed Salah to, catch a stupid red card and see him suspended for a couple of games so that he no longer scores goals?
Well, I don't really care who wins the Golden Boot. It would be nice for Haaland too, but I think Salah's been more consistent and deserves it overall, really, doesn't he? I did predict him to be the top assister in the league as well at the start of the season, and that's coming to fruition as well. Salah is amazing. However, City have their own Egyptian king now. So, yeah, if Salah drops off, there is a new Egyptian sheriff in town for sure with Omar Mamouche. But on Salah, yeah, he's as good as they come. One of the world's best players and has been for well over half a decade at this point.
There's got to be some balance in the universe. There has to be
Neither
one
of them
Egyptian.
are quite El Neni.
And on that note, we can swiftly move on to talking about Aston Villa in more detail, because, of course, Arne Slot also had a press conference. And during that presser, he, of course, said a couple of due diligence words on Aston Villa. And let's hear what he had to say.
If you win against Everton, that's a special accomplishment, isn't it? No, but they did beat Celtic at home in an evening game 4-2. I think Villa away, when you get the fixture list, you all know that Villa away is one of the tougher ones you can face. But last season was also a very interesting game, with it ending 3-3, if I remember correctly. Very good manager, always has a very good game plan. They brought in quite a lot of good players in the winter break as well, and they already had a very good team. They qualified for top 8 in the Champions League, so it tells you that it's a strong team we are going to face. But that's where I started with. Wolves at home was also tough for us, so every game in this period of time for every team in the league is difficult.
Yep, exactly. So, even with Liverpool being with two players, key players down, because Cody Gakpo is injured among one of those two players, then the question is that, well, was the words of Arne Slot just like exchanging pleasantries with Unai Emery, or does he really respect his opponent?
I think it would be harsh to completely discount Villa, despite their defensive injuries and their sort of weird form at the moment. Like, Emery has shown in the past 2 years, especially, that he's capable of turning up on any day and beating anyone, as cliche as it is. And although they drew to 10 men at the weekend, They should have won. They missed a load of easy chances. If Watkins can finally sort of find that form from last year, which I feel he hasn't quite been able to find, then this can definitely be on for Villa.
And Jules, and especially what Arne Slot said there about the fact that once you win against Everton, that is a pretty big accomplishment in this league nowadays. Of course, there was like one cheeky comment towards the neighbours, but I just wonder, like, does Villa really stand a chance though? Because again, like, this topic has been talked about many times over, but it just seems to be the only thing that's pulling Aston Villa back, and that's fatigue and lack of depth in squad. That just keeps coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's inevitable, the hangover you get from playing in the Champions League as a newcomer to the competition, to that standard. And they're clearly good enough to be there, but it's having an effect on their Premier League games directly after. I think they've only won one of the games post-Champions League match, which is not good enough when you're trying to get yourself back there next season. But I do think their squad does have enough depth per se, but it's a case of some of these players still need a bit more time to gel. I mean, Rashford was the best player on the pitch in the second half of the last game. So he looks like he's already going to kick on. And then Daniel Molan is also another quality player that made a Champions League final last year as one of the main guys. So they've definitely got options. Asensio as well, you know. But yeah, it's how quick they can integrate these players to play at that standard with that tempo. But I think it's a bit disingenuous to say they don't have a chance, because of course they do. Emery's trophy cabinet's a lot bigger than Slot's. And Liverpool themselves know that in big games, Aston Villa and Unai Emery themselves can do them as well.
Speaking on fatigue and speaking on tiredness of the players, of course, the Merseyside derby took a lot of that energy and stamina from Liverpool players, because that was like an unbelievable game when every single inch of the pitch had to be fought for. And of course, Arne Slot was asked about that during the press conference, and this is what he had to say.
No, it depends on how the last game went. And that's why I said after the Everton game, it wasn't a surprise to me that the players weren't tired, but they were more tired than they maybe were in previous games, because the Everton game, the way that game went, all the things that happened during that game, and then especially in the last 8 minutes, that costs a lot of energy. That's why you can't compare tomorrow with last Sunday. I think we had a good win. We didn't play our best football, but to go away with a win gives us a different reaction than after the Everton game, where we eventually conceded in the last second with so many things happening. That probably was the reason why we were a bit, not that much, and not everyone. We managed many times already to get a win over the line, where I think we won quite a lot of games with 1 goal difference. I'm not even sure, but I think we did. But there were also moments, Newcastle away, where we conceded in the last minute, Man United at home, where we conceded, I think, 5 to 10 minutes before the end. And now this game, yeah, these things happen in a strong league as well, that you sometimes concede a goal in the last minutes of the game.
Jules, when you hear a quote like that, you just can't help but think that Arne Slot is just trying to defend his players a little bit, because of course the journalists, that is their job. Like, they have to ask those questions on whether the players are on top form or whether they will be able to perform until the end of the season. Arne Slot is kind of like, okay, guys, but it's normal that in a league like the English Premier League, of course, it's obvious that there will be more games with a tight result, and please do not expect my players to knock every single opponent 5-0. But what's your take on this, Jules?
Well, that's his job, isn't it? To keep a steady ship and keep everyone's feet on the ground and try and limit the outside noise. We've seen many more bizarre quotes from managers come into the crunch end of seasons with a Premier League title. Wenger, Fergie, Mourinho, Klopp himself. You know, these guys are not averse to saying quite rowdy things in the press, let's say. And yeah, I mean, Slot's obviously trying to downplay throwing away the Merseyside derby there as well. I think, again, he's being a bit, the word is disingenuous, because he's saying how much Everton wanted it. Well, I mean, there was only one person that lost their head at the end of that game, wasn't there? And it was him. But he's not used to that this season, is he? I know United did them late as well, but that Everton game, yeah, they didn't get their own way, and that's quite rare. Everton have been brilliant, just for the record, since Moyes has been there too. So there's no shame in that result, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, on my personal note, it's still better to have an energetic handshake with a referee than just to greet him the way Jude Bellingham did. So, still,
well, I'm sure we'll get onto that in a bit later too.
My goodness. Like, can you imagine, like, Michael Oliver reacting on Jude Bellingham's words? That would be like a straight 6-game suspension. Like, come on. Well, okay. No. Sorry. It's on me. I do not want to talk about Michael Oliver. We are in a good mood. And Nick, I want to ask you if there were any supplements that you would recommend both players before entering the pitch so that they could rejuvenate. What kind of supplements would you recommend? Because obviously they're in need after the Merseyside derby.
Would it perhaps be Bionic?
Perhaps, and hence that's the sponsor of our podcast. Let's give it a listen.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionic, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionic provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionic. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
And what kind of supplement do podcasters need at the 16-minute mark of recording the podcast? The champions, of course, because we're moving on to what Jules is most interested about, and I do not blame him, is can Pep Guardiola pull a remontada? Spanish-style remontada against Real Madrid at Santiago Bernabéu. Jules, your hot thoughts?
Of course, City can do it. This is the 4th season in a row that City and Real Madrid have come up against each other, and every single season it's been blockbuster TV, isn't it? Crazy that you're seeing, well, the two best teams in Europe over the past 3 or 4 years against each other at this stage of the competition. City and Madrid both only have themselves to blame as well. That Club Brugge result on the last day for City is looking even better now. The fact that they've beaten Villa this year, they just stuffed Atalanta today as well. So City did well in the end to get to this point. But yeah, their reward was the 15-time European champions, which isn't much of a reward. The first game, Madrid definitely did deserve the result. It would have been a bit of a snatch for City to have won. But City teams in the past definitely would have locked that down. But we've seen many times this season throwing away leads. In the Champions League too, that 3-0 up with 15 minutes to go to Feyenoord still stings a lot of City fans, absolutely. But if they can keep a tight ship and Haaland takes his chances like he did in the first leg, then it's on. It's doable. It's only one goal. It's there. Of course, Real Madrid. They go into this as the biggest favourites at any point between these last 4 consecutive years of meetings. Mbappe's on fire as well. Vinny, the second best player in the world, as Rodri, of course, is the first, is always going to be a danger as well. So I wouldn't say many City fans are hopeful, but there's no reason to think that Pep can't rub his bald head and bring a genie out.
Yeah, especially with a meme of Pep Guardiola overthinking the tactics. Like that's been a classic for at least 4 years now, especially since the Champions League final.
I'd say longer. I'd say longer. Yeah.
I like the reason I said 4 years ago was because it actually intensified right before the Champions League final against Chelsea that he eventually lost, and people were just laughing at him for overthinking the tactics.
Even before then, the Spurs game, which City should have definitely won anyway, but he tinkered then. But the worst one was change into a back three for the first time ever in his reign against Lyon, and Lyon knocked City out in the last 16, I think it was. I think that might have been COVID year.
Yeah, the Sterling miss.
Yeah, so Pep has got history of doing this, and I kind of expect him to again today. Sorry to kind of take over a bit here, but the 4-0 win against Newcastle on the weekend is the best City have played all season, hands down. unequivocally. And key to that was, of course, Marmoush, who I've brought up, but it was Nico Gonzalez, the new centre mid. Anyone that's watched football this year knows how important Rodri has been to City, and even more so, the importance of his absence and the lack of available people to fill in that position. Nico is there now, and City seem like a completely different team. Yet, I wouldn't be surprised if we still seen Pep not start the same team as Saturday, when there's no reason not to. Consistency in squad selection has not been there all year, and City have paid the price. So, yeah, we'll see, but I wouldn't be surprised if Pep threw another spanner in the works somehow.
Well, the stats give Pep Guardiola's side 1% of overturning the tie to his.
So there's a
his
chance.
advantage. There is a chance, 1%, of course. Yeah, and actually Guardiola was asked about this, that basically, like, he thinks, like, okay, he did not say that City still got a chance. He was just praising Real Madrid, all like left and right. He just said, like, I'll paraphrase that Real Madrid are the real favorites to come out of this aggregate battle victorious. To which Carlo Ancelotti responded with, "I do not believe Guardiola for a second." Oh, come on, he's full of it. There is no way that he believes that Real Madrid is the favorite. And then Guardiola responded in another presser with, "That's the first time that he did not believe me." Wow. So we got a little back and forth there. Nick, I would like to ask you about something more specific as far as the tactics go. Because we say that Real Madrid did a great job in the first leg, but not too many people talked about how Real Madrid dismantled Manchester City during that first leg. And, well, of course, I just helped my way of thinking and my rationale with a brilliant feature at UEFA.com about how Real Madrid mid-block absolutely dismantled Manchester City. There are plenty of very interesting facts in there. For example, the one that out of all of the opponents that Real Madrid has faced so far in the Champions League, Manchester City and Liverpool are those two teams with which Real Madrid spent the most time in mid-block. And that's the question. Like, was there any other way to somehow counteract to how Real Madrid was shifting, was moving, was making sure that nothing would come through that midfield?
I don't think so last week, because they started with Stones at DM, obviously. I think if they had Rodri, obviously, or Nico Gonzalez, like they probably will tomorrow, they would have had far more answers, but I just don't think Pep's setup last week really helped them massively in terms of playing through a mid-block, and you can't blame Madrid at all. You sit in a mid-block against this City team, the physicality, the pace that Real Madrid have to just take advantage of the deficiencies that we've seen with City this season. To be honest, I was surprised it wasn't more comfortable for City. I was partly expecting almost a complete blowout from Real Madrid, so a 3-2 for City I don't think was that bad in the end.
Yeah, perhaps, but then again, we're talking about, of course, like the City got out lucky that the finished the way it did, because Real Madrid, they've been superb, especially the work of the back four. They allowed zero space for Erling Haaland to develop anything there, even though Haaland did score, but he did not score more. Twice, exactly. He did score, but he did not score more than it was required to win the first leg, and that was the key in what Carlo Ancelotti said after the game, because he was the one praising his back four. But then again, when we just take a quick look at what we can expect from Manchester City, Jules, which players could bring some new and fresh quality to challenge Ancelotti's tactics, which are pretty organized, and if they are compact, especially in that middle third, there is a very little chance of anyone getting through.
Yeah, you say that, but I think Nico on the ball is really good, and more than that, it's how valuable a player like that, and a good one as well, which he is defensively. Because all season, teams have been setting up in either deep blocks or even mid blocks against City, and being able to get at the back line so easily over and over and over again, because that gap in the midfield is just so big. And Mateo Kovacic does not have the legs to be able to handle it all by himself. Partly his fault, partly the setup's fault. But yeah, so I think Nico is the big difference maker here in terms of how City can stop Real Madrid just completely steamrolling them. And then, of course, Marmoush. City have been crying out for a player that runs in behind and stretches defences for years, really. Even when Grealish was at his best, he hugs the touchline, and there's a lot of talk about how he's had his creativity stifled under Pep, but that's because there's so many better attacking midfielders at the club than him. Someone has to do that role, and he did it really well. However, City became very predictable, and having Marmoush run in between the gaps between the full-back and the centre-back, or in between the two centre-backs, or running just off Haaland dropping deep, or vice versa, it gives defences a completely different problem to face. And Real Madrid's wing-backs tend to bomb on, whoever it is, whether they're playing, even if they're getting like Camavinga at left-back, they'll put him on, Lucas Vázquez, Valverde. These are players that will get forward and will leave space for Marmoush to counter. And he has got the pace, confidence, and quality to put anyone to the sword, in my opinion. I know it's a small sample size, but he has been great since he's joined City. And of course, he's having one of the great European seasons in general with how good he was at Eintracht Frankfurt as well. So, yeah, if Haaland has got shooting boots on, well, I'm basically just going to say if everyone's great, then yeah, there's a chance. But yeah, in answer specifically to your question, I think Nico and Marmoush will be the two new players that can cause new problems that teams maybe won't already have figured out how to stop, which they have done for a lot of games in City season so far.
Nick, do you think he'll... Sorry to butt in. Do you think he'll stick with or go with Rico Lewis at right back? Because when he came on at halftime last week, I think most people instantly thought, well, this gets so easy for Vinny, and Mbappe will drift even further left to go at him. We've seen his defensive deficiencies all season, and we saw it again last week. Do you think he'll go with him, or do you think he'll go with someone else, possibly a centre-back?
I'd imagine because he started Rico on Saturday that he would pick someone else midweek. But I'd be very surprised if he didn't come on at all. And yeah, he has this defensive deficiency, sure, but that's more to do with his physical capabilities. His reading of the game is really good. And if the team is settled, then those physical limitations aren't as prevalent, right? Which is the exact opposite to Kyle Walker, who had no brain, all pace towards the last season or two, and then that pace went, and we've seen how much of a cliff he fell off. So yeah, if we could bring back Walker for one game to lock down Vinny or Mbappe, sure. But the defence is worse with him in, and these are the type of games that Rico Lewis deserves to start, in my opinion. He's been so good so often at such a young age in a variety of positions for the most demanding manager in world football. So he deserves the chance to. I wouldn't say there's loads of options. We could see Stones out there because he was fit, and Kusanov had a really good game on Saturday. But yeah, in honesty, whenever anyone asks me to predict what Pep's lineup's going to be, I really don't know.
And I don't blame you for not knowing anyway. I would also have that headache, as a Man City fan as well. So apparently, Man City fans will be looking for another Real Madrid. Let's just say bottling. And Robert Lewandowski in Man City's version scoring 4 goals. Of course, I had to chime in. Sorry, guys. Who could be your Robert Lewandowski scoring 4 goals against Real Madrid?
Well, I think Erling Haaland is a pretty good comparison, to be fair.
What about Marmoush, though? I mean, he scored.
I just spoke about how important I think he'll be. If City do manage to go through, then I think those 3 players that we mentioned, Nico, Marmoush and Haaland, they will all have to be great, and the defence are going to have some of the best performances they've had since possibly winning the Champions League 2 years ago.
And Jude Bellingham would need to show some patriotism towards the English side, and we'll have to show our appreciation. And big thanks to another sponsor of ours, which is Zencastr, and then we will shortly talk about our score predictions. So let's first have a listen.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Exactly. That was the ad for the Zencastr. Thank you so much for sponsoring us. And to all of our fans out there and listeners and viewers, please subscribe. Please stay tuned to our content. The more you are out there, the more excited we're going to be to make more and more episodes like that. So don't forget to like, don't forget to share it with your friends. And if you disagree with anything that we've said so far up to this point, you're more than welcome to express that disagreement down there in the comment section below so that we can have a little bit of a discussion. The more you're out there, the better. So let's keep it at that. So, short score predictions. Aston Villa, Liverpool. Jules, who have you got?
It's so hard to bet against Villa because they are really good, but they're so inconsistent in the league this year. Yeah, all right, okay. All right. You said short, and I've already dragged it out 15 seconds. I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool. Nick?
I'm going to go 2-2. Villa have only lost at home to us on their first home game, so I'm going to hope they can see Liverpool out a little bit.
Well, and for me, I think Liverpool is a big favorite of this game, so I would just say 2-1. That is going to be another close result, but on the advantage of the Reds. I think this would be a fair and safe prediction. Champions League, second leg, Real Madrid, Manchester City. I'll start with Nick this time so that Jules can have more time to think about the score. Nick, what have you got?
3-1 Real Madrid, Haaland header over Asensio or something, and then Vinny and Mbappe just being Vinny and Mbappe.
Yeah, and Jude Bellingham grinning them with a classic English greetings. Jules?
I think both teams will score. This is me dragging it out again, I guess. Yeah, it's hard to look past the Real Madrid's pedigree in this competition and Mbappe and the form he's in. So yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1 Madrid with a heavy heart.
Well, so okay, I know what you're doing there. So like right now, you're jinxing it by throwing.
Never bet on your own team. Come on, that's common knowledge. Never bet on your own team.
Exactly. Yeah, common sense. So, with that being said, that concludes our preview. This episode is actually published and put out there for all of you guys to hear and see on the day of both of those games taking place. So, have yourself, guys, a great game. So. Nick, Jules, thank you so much for joining me for this preview. And, well, have yourself a great review of the game as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And, well, tune in tomorrow because then we'll be reviewing both of those games. So Aston Villa taking on Liverpool and Real Madrid taking on Manchester City. Hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about, maybe less about Jude Bellingham's great expressionisms and more about football and goals and performances. We're hopefully going to be sticking around to find out. So, from Michał Czarniecki, thank you guys so much. Do zobaczenia, do usłyszenia!